Hey guys, welcome back to my channel and welcome to the Back to the Basics Part 4. In today's video, we're going to be doing a simple monthly spread, and I'm also going to be showing you how to fix some mistakes. I didn't really mean to do that, but it just happened throughout, so I'll show you how I fix them. So the first thing I do is I always start in pencil and I use a ruler, and the first thing you're going to want to do is count out the number of dots on your page. So in this video, I'm using the Rhodia Goal Book, and I divided it out so that I could have one space between each of my blocks. So to make that work, I had to make each of my blocks 3 by 3, and then I spaced it so that I had enough rows for the entire month. So I know it's light, but what you're seeing here is I am spacing every row 3 and then with a space of 1 between it, and then I'm going to go through and do the same thing vertically. So I'm going to count over 3 and then 1 and then 3 again, and I'll do that for 7 days. So even if you start your week on Sunday or Monday, whatever you start on, it doesn't matter, you're still obviously going to have those 7 days, so you need to have room for 7 boxes. So for me, 7 times 3 is 21, plus a space between each is 6 spaces. That's a total of 27 spaces, and the Rhodia Goal Book I believe has 28, so I spaced it accordingly. The next thing I do is use my pencil to mark in the days, so I just put like an M above Monday, and this kind of just helps me lay out my month so that I don't end up with the first day of the month being on the wrong day or something. And then here is where I mess up, and I overcounted the number of rows that I had and I added an extra one. So at the end I'll show you how I fix that. But so normally I would count out however many weeks were in the month, and that would be how far down I would go. So the next step is going to be to pen it in. Here you just have to be really conscious about what you're doing, because you don't want to mark over that space that is between the boxes. So you're only marking off those 3 little blocks that will make up the square for each day. And I chose not to make the boxes before the first of the month. You can, if you'd like to add the end of the previous month on to that, you can just fill up from Monday to Sunday. That's completely up to you. I will warn you that this process does take a little bit of time. This video is sped up quite a bit, but laying it out with the spaces in between takes longer than just drawing out a calendar like a rectangle and then just drawing a grid through it. That is the easier way to do it if you're strapped for time, or if you just prefer that look, it's an easier method. So this one does take a while, and this is where I'm going to show you another mistake that I made. So I drew a little farther over and almost connected 2 of my lines together. And how I fix that is I just have a white gel pen on hand. So I have the Uniball Signo White, and I just ink directly over the place that I made the mistake, and it works flawlessly. After you finish filling in your boxes, you can put the weekdays at the top, and some people start their weeks on Sunday, some people start them on Monday. I start mine on Monday all the time. So I'm just using a print font from part 2, so it's like a taller, narrow font. I think it fits really well above the boxes, and I just use the abbreviation for the days, and then I just fill those in first, and then later I will do the numbers because I like to make sure that my days are there so that I know exactly, because I just transfer the calendar from my iPhone over so that I know that I'm not messing up. But obviously sometimes it doesn't work that well because, like I said, I added an extra row here thinking that September had like 6 weeks, so I went a little bit too far there, but this is pretty easy. You could do any kind of font you want, just make sure that it's small enough to fit over your boxes. The next step for me was to add the header on, so I made this calendar for September since it will be next month, and this might be useful for somebody who wants to make their September calendar. And I just chose to do a simple wavy banner, which was covered in part 1 of this series. So I'm drawing out my banner first, and then I will add my text later because I want to color in my banner. And a big tip I have for you is, if you're going to do something like a banner and then you're going to write on it, color in first and then write over it. Even though a lot of the fine line pens are waterproof, if you don't let them sit long enough, they can smear, especially with a wet marker or highlighter, so like Tombows or the mild liners, they will smear your black ink. So it's just better to go in with your color first and then do your writing. For the color, I chose purple, and I chose a couple different shades of purple because I wanted kind of a dimensional effect. So the pieces of the banner that are in the back are going to be a darker purple, and then the front of the banner will be lighter. That's also going to help because I do want my title to show up, and over a darker colored marker, it's not going to show up as well. So I just chose to color in the ends darker and then the middle piece a little lighter.
That's good.
Moving on to the header, I just chose a fine line pen, so this is in a 05, and I'm going to write this in faux block lettering. I like this lettering for just about everything. It's fairly simple and quick to do. The only problem I had here was that I didn't really think through how big the word September was. So if you're doing this, you might want to try in pencil first. You can use pencil over Tombow markers, and then you can draw directly over it with your fine liner, or you can erase it, and that will kind of help you give you an idea of how big your word's going to be and if you need to make your letters smaller or bigger. I just ran out of space right at the end, but I did manage to squeeze the R in there, so just another pointer for you when you're doing your headers so that you don't end up with that cramped spacing or running out of room. Another quick pointer, if you did choose a darker color for your banner or your header or whatever, and then you're going to write over it, you can either deepen up your letters with a black pen, so you could fill in the block parts of the word September here, or you could use a white gel pen to write over it, and then that might stand out more on a darker color. So you aren't limited to pastels or super light colors on your headers. You just have to think of how you're actually going to get your word to show up. So this next part you're going to see is completely optional. You don't have to do it, but I like to use this when I use a single page calendar. I just call this my important dates section. Because this is a single page calendar, the squares are pretty small and it can be hard to squeeze in events or holidays or whatever you have going on in the month. So instead I like to write them down below in this important date section and then use a colored marker to like make a dot or something on the day that it's happening. So that way when I actually flip my calendar, I can see days that I have things to do, but then I can actually see what is happening that day by looking at the bottom. So here I am going in with my markers to fill in the dates. Again, this is where I messed up and had way too many boxes, but I chose to do both colors, so to incorporate both the light and dark. So I did a row of light and then a row of dark and then a row of light, dark, etc.
That's good.
This is where I realized that I messed up and added too many boxes, so I had to think of a way to incorporate them. So I just decided that I was going to fill in the boxes with the same colors that I used throughout the page. So I did one box light and then I skipped one, and I will do that one dark, just to kind of make a pattern. And then I chose to just add the very first week of October to these boxes and use it just as a section to see the month ahead. It's maybe not the most convenient, or it may not be ideal, but being that I messed up and it was too hard to fix any other way, I just chose to do it this way. I suppose the other option would have been to cover this row with washi tape, and that would separate my important dates from my calendar. But there are a number of ways to fix mistakes. When you make them, you do not have to tear out your pages. Know that everyone makes mistakes. Even people on Instagram and people on YouTube with thousands and thousands of followers make mistakes, and it's okay. Just laugh about it and move on. So that is our completed September setup, and I felt it was pretty easy. It took about 30 minutes, so not too long. If you guys would like to try this out, please do. As always, thank you for watching, and please subscribe to my channel, and I see you in the next video.